All right, so earlier today I was taking a bath, turned into a rather long bath, and I was thinking about, well, I gave myself a thought experiment, as I like to do as I'm soaking my toesies. Um, and the thought experiment was this: if I had access to an artificial intelligence that had the capacity to learn and to become smarter and more capable and more effective, and at the very beginning of its lifespan, I could give this artificial intelligence one command that it would follow and get better at doing and find new ways to do it. What command would I give it? So I thought about this for a while and ultimately landed on maximize happiness and health for the entire human population. The difficulty with that, though, was how do you quantify happiness or quantify health in a way that an artificial intelligence could then maximize? Um, it's not like you could tell it to make things more beautiful because that is, a totally subjective thing. And it seemed like, hey, is happiness kind of in the same boat where while we as humans can kind of intuit what it means to be happy, is it just something that cannot be defined for an artificial intelligence? But I came up with something that I kind of liked and I wanted to share it. So, my attempt at quantifying happiness, more so than defining it, is taking two attributes and maximizing both of them. So, one is freedom and the other one is growth. And the ability to maximize both of those things without them becoming out of balance then leads to happiness. So, first, let's define what those two things mean and how we can quantify them. So, for freedom, that is pretty simply, how often are you able to do the things you want to do, and how often can you avoid doing the things you don't want to do? Um, Whereas growth is, learning new things, meeting new people, becoming, physically stronger, developing new skills, um, and, just the um, increasing the resources that you have available to you, whether they're social resources, mental resources, but it's increasing. It's that is the growth, increasing the resources that you as an individual have um, in your development. So one of the things that I've found was interesting is that if only one of those attributes is maximized, then it will come at the expense of the other. So, if you've ever played a video game in God mode, like with cheat codes or something, then you know that, hey, having total freedom in the game doesn't necessarily maximize your happiness. I mean, it's fun for a while, but with no challenge, you're not getting better at the game. You're not increasing your skill level or learning new things. And so, while fun at first, eventually the happiness of the experience drops off. And so, one of the things that we find is with unlimited freedom, growth stagnates when you get to do anything you want to do and don't have to do anything you don't want to do. It inhibits our growth. Okay, so then at the same time, let's say that your growth, you were, I mean, the classic example is, when we're kids and we go to school, we are learning a lot. We're in physical education. We are, memorizing facts and doing math. And there is a lot of growth going on. I know that for me, when I had no choice in being there, or when I had very little agency or choice or freedom in what I got to do or how I got to do it, that definitely did not maximize my happiness. Um, in contrast, when I was in college, there was a lot of growth, but I also had a lot of freedom to choose what classes I was going to take. And so even though there was, stress, I would say that was a time of great happiness, as it came with a lot of freedom and a lot of growth. And when I think about, most of the choices in my life that have led to the most happiness, like marrying my wife, she is someone who definitely inspires me to grow and become, the person that I can best become, and challenge myself to learn new things and do things that I wouldn't have done before. But at the same time, she respects my autonomy and, and encourages my freedom and our freedom as a couple to define ourselves. Okay, so I felt like I had kind of cracked happiness and maximizing happiness. And then I said, okay, well, now let's tackle health. And I wanted to tackle happiness first because I felt like that was the tougher nut to crack as far as subjectivity and making it quantifiable. So I said, okay, health, that should be easier, right? We all kind of know what it means to be healthy, but do we? I mean, certainly we all want to live longer, I think. But then a longer lifespan is not necessarily a healthier lifespan, because you can have a very long life that for the last 20 years is not a lot of health. So then I thought, okay, well, I mean, length of life should probably have something to do with it. I mean, nobody thinks that dying young is a sign of health. But okay, well, what about those last 20 years would make us feel like, someone is in bad health? So I thought back up my days as a certified nursing assistant, a CNA, and thinking about the people who had kind of a rough quality of life towards the end. And I realized that what it came down to was their bodies didn't allow them to do what they wanted to do, and they were in a constant state of decline. They weren't getting better, they were getting worse. What I realized was what that came down to was they no longer had the freedom that they wanted to have, and that they were no longer in a period of growth. They were in a period of decline. So what that led me to believe was that health is really a quality of body and brain chemistry. So, physical health, emotional, mental health, all of it comes down to a physical state that enables and encourages happiness. And again, defining happiness or quantifying happiness as maximizing freedom and growth in balance with each other. So then I started to think about, okay, well, what kind of impact does that have on the way that we view what is healthy and what is not? Because then it's not just a matter of what's normal. I mean, it doesn't become about a body mass index anymore. Or, let's take baldness, for example. Some view full, thick head of hair as a sign of health. Others, like myself, don't mind so much being bald. Well, okay, so taking health as a state of body and mind that encourages happiness and facilitates happiness. All right, well, is there anything about being bald that is impeding my freedom? No, not really. I still make the same exact choices I would make before. I guess for some people who don't want to go bald and they do anyway, well, that would impact their happiness, because that is a choice that has been taken away from them. They have to go bald. For me, I am going thin up top, but I still shave my head. That is a choice that I make, and I, very much take it upon myself. But I will say, about a week or so ago, I noticed that it was getting thinner than I had realized, and I realized that some of that choice was not that sense of choice was perhaps more of an illusion for me than a reality, and that stung a little bit, but I'm okay with it. And then the other thing is growth. Is it impeding my growth? So, if I felt like having a full head of hair was necessary in order to, find a romantic partner, to find a mate, or any number, if I felt like it was keeping me back from getting job interviews or any other kind of growth, then that also would have a negative impact on my happiness. I don't feel that way. And so, because it is neither impacting my growth nor my freedom, I don't think that my baldness is a health issue. But that is true for me because it's not something that impacts my happiness. So, I guess what it comes down to, and what I kind of wanted to share, is that as we view happiness, sometimes I think it can be helpful to think about, hey, I'm feeling unhappy now. What is it that is out of balance? What is it that's out of that I'm wanting more of? Am I wanting more freedom, or am I wanting more growth? And I think that because those are quantifiable, it's something that we can start working on. At the same time, if we are feeling insecure about our own health, we can say, all right, well, this thing that I'm concerned about, is it do I feel like it is holding me back in terms of freedom? Is it keeping me from doing what I want to be able to do? Is it holding me back in terms of growth? Is it stopping me from being able to progress in ways that I want to? And if the answer to both of those questions is no, well, then is it unhealthy? Is it a problem? Um, I think about weight loss and how for one person, hey, you know what, if they feel like those extra pounds that they have on their body are, preventing them from being able to do the things that they really want to do, to be able to go on the hikes or run the marathons, well then, hey, by all means, take steps to address that health issue for yourself. But at the same time, if you're someone who feels like the diet that you have to stick to in order to keep this arbitrary body weight that society says you need to have is holding you back from being able to make the choices that you want to make in life, and limiting your freedom, then maybe that's the unhealthy choice. Um, Bottom line, I liked these thoughts. I wanted to share them. And certainly, if I ever get my hands on that artificial intelligence, I'm sticking with my command of maximize health and happiness for the entire human race, by maximizing freedom and growth in balance, and then maximizing a state of body and mind that will support it. Thank you very much for watching and listening to my fun little happiness rant.